Hey everyone, welcome to our Trade of Black podcast. Good day, good first day of the trading week as cannabis stocks continue to surge. It's exciting. This is exciting. Anthony Verrill, good to see you. What a day, and the first day back after a long weekend. We look at a lot of the big players, more notably AYR Wellness continued its surge up. What was it, 45% on the day?
45% it closed at. It rallied into the close, and I mean it's rewarding everybody that got in early so far. It's been a hell of a move.
Yeah. You guys surprised at all or not at all?
Yeah, actually, I'm very surprised after today. I did not have the price action doing what it was doing today. I thought that it was going to be a flat to modest day, but I mean, this has me really thinking that the rally is for real. I mean, you've got stocks with 2, 3s, and 4 handles on them after the day today. So I mean, this is on notice, and I mean, an MSOS was a fucking freight train.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it's slowing down, and if anything, it might be a pretty damn good week. And I want to just point out that all this happened with the broad market being down. I mean, I think the Dow closed down 200 points.
Think about that
on the day. So we had macro and broad market weakness, and the cannabis rally shrugged it off and rallied into where it's sitting right now.
This is going viral on Wall Street bets as well, which is interesting, right?
It'd be nice. Yeah, I mean, the more the merrier. I mean, there's value here. There's the growth stories intact. We've got Schumer actually mentioned safe banking again today. And I mean, I really do feel that safe banking is probably going to get passed before rescheduling happens. Just with timing and the way agencies work and with how everything goes.
Whoa. So now we're talking about safe banking. You think it could happen?
Well, I said Chuck's going to grab safe banking and run down the field with it. That man is a career politician. I mean, that's not what I want to happen, but it'd be nice.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be real nice if he gets it to a floor vote, gets another GOP signer on board, and actually gets some momentum in that bill. Then we're going way higher.
Yeah.
Then stocks will start cruising.
Yeah. That's for sure. Getting a good taste, that's for sure. Ben, it's you surprised at all, like I said to Anthony, on how this performed today again?
I am a little bit surprised, not entirely, but a little bit surprised. We mentioned on our podcast that, consolidatory action was probably in the cards or might be in the cards. But I think what happened is, or at least from my vantage point, I maybe underestimated the value of Wall Street bets, because in the morning, this was like in the morning session, the first half hour, this was the lightest volume in 3 sessions. So it didn't look like it had the same legs. So usually you want to break key levels with very, very strong volume. That wasn't the case early, but they kept pushing price up. They kept edging it higher. And then all of a sudden it broke key technical levels. And to me, it looked like there was short covering. The shorts gave up and it was just stepped higher. It wasn't a stampede higher. It was just step action, like somebody covering all the way up. So from that regard, I am not surprised, because MSOS has a 15.4% short interest or thereabouts. So I think a lot of this was fueled by short covering, and then Wall Street bets, some people piling in, and we have the result we have today.
So can we anticipate more short covering into tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, I think the new resistance, which was around the 720, 730 area, has now become support. So I wouldn't want to be short here. I'll put it that way. I could definitely see more short covering going into next week with the catalyst table ahead.
So AYR Wellness up, what was it, 45%?
45% going into the close. Yeah.
Forefront Ventures, surprisingly, this is a company we don't talk about much, 37%. We saw over 18 million in trade volume for MSOs. So another just a strong day. But were you surprised? I guess I keep asking that question. Surprised. Somebody writes, actually, are we officially calling cannabis is back? I think we could say that for sure, which is great to see. But Forefront Ventures, have you followed it much?
I mean, I know the company. I have it as like a tier 2, tier 3 at best. It's funny because that's actually the company that I mentioned. Todd Harrison reached out to me on Twitter and was like, "Oh, so I see that you're kind of bearish on Forefront. Why don't you talk to the CEO or CIO, Andrew Tutt, who I haven't had the chance to connect with yet." But you could argue that Todd's probably pounding the phones as an advisor to that stock. And I mean, I'm damn well surprised. It's up 38%. On the day. I mean, they're in decent markets. I don't know their balance sheet in and out like I do the tier 1s. But as before today, I wouldn't have touched it. it would not have been on my list. I think the price action here has me intrigued. I probably still won't touch it.
Yeah.
But it's got everyone on notice. I mean, 38% on 700,000 shares traded is not a shabby day.
No, at all. What was Curaleaf? I'm just looking right now. What were they up for the day?
Curaleaf was up around 14.5% on 1.5 million shares traded. You're not going to, I mean, it's like we said, I mean, Columbia Care, AYR or AYR, I still call them AYR, Cresco, Jushi, the highest shorted stocks and the ones that were really investors were seeing in a flux are the ones that are ripping to the upside. It's nice to see AYR at about 140 million US market cap versus the 70 when we were pounding the table saying that they're trading at about 1 times cash and it's a grossly undervalued name. So, I mean, it's good to see them being a beneficiary of the rally.
Well, this obviously got news before the market. You guys want to dive into the news before market regarding GTI? Like, this is a telling sign to say the least, but, break it down for us and what that announcement means. And then was this part, I guess, maybe the momentum carrying into today?
All right. So I'll be honest here. I saw the headline this morning and my immediate knee-jerk reaction was like, fuck, like this rally's going to get killed. Like we're already talking about share buybacks and these stocks have rallied for 3 days now. I didn't like it. Then I started to really think about it. I mean, GTI, if you put them into a sensitivity model for 2022 and take away 280E, they're still cash flow positive. So, I mean, a 5% buyback in a 12-month program, it's not the worst thing in the world. I'm assuming that Ben probably took a lot of thought into this before announcing it.
Yeah.
The market happened to receive it quite nicely. I would not want to see this from several of the other operators until you start to see them address and pay down debt. There's no way I'd want to see a share buyback program go into the market when a company's got debt that needs to be serviced and got debt that needs to come off the balance sheet. I'd argue that GTI is probably the only name that could pull this off right now. I'm hoping that we don't see a copycat trend. I'm really hoping we don't see a copycat trend and you start to see some of the tier ones come out and announce these buyback programs. I don't think we're anywhere near that being the case.
If that does happen, Ben, we've talked about this extensively a lot. That's not going to be good for the industry again.
Well, I just think they won't because they're not in that position. I mean, GTI is the only company that's net income positive in general. So even after their taxes, they're earning a profit. And they're the only company in that position right now, so they can do that. But when I saw the news, I thought it was like a stroke of brilliance from an optics perspective, because I don't think it makes like a ton of difference. It's only about 2% of the outstanding share float, or even less than that. But I look at it as like them sort of taking the opportunity with good news to provide an extra catalyst in investors' minds, right? They're throwing it out there. There's not a commitment to buy it right away. They could buy it over the next 12 months. So why not initiate that program? They don't have to take action if they don't want to. And yet, with good news on the table, with catalysts ahead, they planted that seed in investors' minds that they could buy back at any time. So psychologically, it was a good move, but they don't even have to, put 1 cent into that if they don't want to. So I think it was a good maneuver on their part.
So what's that say long-term then? Just confidence, right?
Yeah. I mean, if Ben wants to put his money where his mouth is and the treasury is looking flush and they've got cash, I mean, I would assume they're going to start to buy back their stock at some point. Yeah. You could argue that there's not going to be a better point in time than now, unless this all unravels with HHS and rescheduling and SAFE goes away, and we start to go to the other side. But yeah, I mean, I think Ben's right. From an optics perspective, it's great.
Okay, we keep saying this day after day, like, are we going to get a pullback? And I'm not going to ask the question if we're going to get a pullback, yes or no, tomorrow. But where do we see this going? Like, this is already a week in now, and we don't see any slowing down in sight from what we're seeing going into the close today.
I mean, I think we could cool off in the coming days. I mean, I don't expect
to see 30, but it's not showing that. What do you think?
I mean, man? I don't expect to see 30 to 40% moves across the board all week.
I'm going to take the same approach as I had before. I think a lot of this is short covering and not institutional buying. So I think my assumption is at some point it's going to cool off. But then again, when you have such a robust catalyst table ahead, and you have safe news coming up, Congress is back in session. Anything could pull this higher, right? So all I can say is above like the levels that we broke, key resistance in the morning above the 725 mark. I wouldn't want to be short this market.
No.
That was sort of like the last stand for shorts. And again, that's why I think this rally today was fueled by short covering. It was stepped higher. It wasn't institutional, just throwing 100 million in there, rocking it up to 9 in one giant god candle. It was a step up price action. Shorts recovering. I wouldn't want to be short this market. So I think it has some legs, especially if you have some catalysts.
Yeah,
where that ultimately goes, I don't know.
Yeah, the thing is, the headline risk is to the upside. Right now, I mean, we're one headline away to where this thing goes parabolic. Insane. And if that does happen, you're not going to want to be on the sidelines. That's not financial advice. Don't make any moves based on what I'm saying. But right now, the opportunity cost of being on the sidelines, like I said, you're one headline away from boom.
So for those that are looking at it as FOMO right now, they don't want to chase something. Do we look at this as like, okay, a pullback? Before the HHS announcement was made last week, like, do you think those bottoms are long gone? We're not going back to those.
No, we're not going back to those. 480 is gone. The fact that we broke that 725 resistance again from a technical perspective was very important. The fact that the market edged up and on a trending lower volume on the opening session, and then 4 shorts to cover. Now we're over that mark. There's no shorting here. I would not want to be short here. I am not thinking about shorting here. Now, whether you're comfortable enough to buy and chase this, it depends on your perspective, depends on your risk tolerance. I am not personally a chaser kind of. I like to buy before the breakout or just after the breakout, and I do have some exposure, but that's you have to use your own discretion there, and timelines are key. How long you're going to be in the sector, how long you want to stay invested, it all comes into it. But and there's definitely a lot of momentum to the upside right now.
Okay, so outside
I chased today. I mean, I bought 5,000 MSOS on the open, and I added to my AYR position.
Look at that smile on your face.
It was very hard not to, because I really respect Ben, and I'm watching his price, his price points, and I'm chasing. But that's why we get along. I mean, that's what makes a market, right? Opinions. Yeah. I mean, that's what makes a market. If there is a pullback, though, I'm going to load the boat on cash and just pile in.
Okay, so break it down. What are the besides AYR? What are the top 3 to 4 stocks right now that are heavily shorted or were heavily shorted? Do we know?
Columbia Care comes to mind.
Yeah, it's the usual suspects. I would have to assume it's still Columbia Care, Jushi. If you're shorting AYR now, you need a mental evaluation.
Yeah.
I'd have to guess that the shorts are getting out of the way of GTI. Curaleaf,
well, that's what I'm saying. Like, if we're still heavily shorted, like, could we see these specific companies continue the trend that they've been doing over the last week for the remainder of this week? So
I was surprised on Tilray. I mean, Tilray only moved 3% when everything else is cruising.
Yeah.
And that kind of trades as a proxy with institutional guys, and people know Tilray. And I mean, if the US does have this regulatory shift, Tilray is going to be a giant beneficiary of it. I was very surprised to see Tilray cool off intraday and finish the day up 3%.
3%. How'd Canopy do?
Canopy did well. Canopy finished up 24% on the day with 125 million shares traded.
125 million in trade volume.
Yeah. Canopy cooked. Canopy did what I thought Tilray was going to do.
A lot of people looking at that share price going, there's nothing but upside. But Bruce outlined some important things last week that I think if you haven't gotten a chance, check out our YouTube channel from Bruce last week. He brought up some really good points about making sure and you're understanding what the true bottom is. But
and there was another data point today that actually came out. Pop Mom posted it on Twitter. She actually posts a lot of pretty good facts out there. Maryland sales are up month over month.
Yeah.
So I mean, Maryland's going to be a big growth catalyst on a lot of these earnings reports coming up.
So, whoa, Anthony, hatless must have been quite a day.
Yeah, it ebbs and flows. I know. Usually, I got the golf hat on.
Yeah. All right, gents. Is there any other notable names that we should bring up? MSOX. up another.
I'm waiting for headlines. Like companies need to start unloading headlines right now. Like give us anything. Like Boris had it's actually funny that Boris had the post this morning on their Squeeze brand for edibles.
Yeah.
Like obviously implying like a short squeeze in the sector is pretty well timed. I want to see headlines like branding updates, M&A, like something. Like the companies need to give us some meat here or some sizzle right now with our steak. They'd be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a hot market, press releases, things will move on any junk press release or any, non-material press release. That's when you want to, release it, right? People are excited and, they'll bid stocks up based on whatever. So,
I mean, earnings season coming up is going to be we're going to be losing sleep.
Think about the sentiment that was at the Benzinga conference in Miami last April and what we can anticipate later this month in Chicago. Like it's.
Yeah. I think Chicago is going to be great. Especially Chicago is going to be. I think moods will be. Oh no, actually, this is actually New York had a big. I don't know if you guys saw, but New York had a big letter submitted to the governor today on behalf of I think it was Curaleaf, Acreage, and GTI that signed off on it to basically be like, get us the licenses now. Like we need to get cannabis in market. Like stop handcuffing us. Like this is enough. Let's get the restrictions gone and get our doors open because we need to start selling into the market.
Huh. Interesting.
And it's funny because that was paired with another headline that was talking about the bogus pot shops selling edibles to kids and getting them sick, which as far as I'm concerned is the biggest argument for regulated cannabis because buying aftermarket stuff, buying even some of the Delta 8 and Delta 9 stuff, like you don't really know what you're getting. Like this product should be regulated. It should be tested and the consumer should know damn well what they are ingesting when it comes to products.
Now, speaking of earnings reports, Maryland's going to be big for a lot of companies, as Anthony mentioned. If for fiscal reports at the end of, I guess, September, then there's a 45-day limit at the end of that they must report or face, sanction from the securities regulators. So we're looking at what, mid-November? So mid-November would be the time for the next earnings reports. We still have a little bit of time there, but they should be hot, I think. Yeah, Maryland's going to really contribute to the likes of TerrAscend, MariMed, all the smaller players, especially that have a bigger size footprint to relative footprint.
Appreciate that. Hoping to see good headlines out of Michigan or gaining headlines out of Michigan again, going into earnings, and then hopefully we start to see prices go up instead of compress in Illinois.
Shout out to Lucifer. Thanks for the feedback. Let me know if you're from New York as well. Be good to get some dialogue. You mentioned that it's very embarrassing in New York. We've had that conversation to say the least. But interesting times. You guys feeling alive? You feeling good?
I'm feeling good with the price action. I'm wondering about a gap up tomorrow. I mean, I don't know if it's going to happen. I'm not calling for that, but I'm saying the way the market closed, the way it looked to me from a seasoned trader perspective that there was a short squeeze action and there's still a 15% plus SI on MSOs, I could see another squeeze. I could. Wow. I don't know what that's going to be. I'm not calling for it. Again, these are unpredictable, but the way it closed, the strength, ongoing strength, everything was bought up. I wouldn't be surprised to see like 850 plus open tomorrow.
I'm not going to lie. I was looking at my screen all day looking for it to roll over. I was like, something's going to happen. Like something's going to happen. Like there's no way we're going to keep going higher. And then AYR goes 5%, 18%, 28%. Then it was like 45%. Traded back down to 30 and then closed back up at 45. But wrong with all the other names. I was waiting for something to roll over. But this time it might be different.
I underestimated the Wall Street bets. I really did. Like that's not my bag. I'm not like that type of trader. And people kept saying, okay, let's get these people involved. People posted all weekend. And that's what people have to understand here. All weekend, proponents, investors kept posting things on MSOs there. And it started out trending in the top 20. It was way down the list. And then it went to like 12. And then it went to 5, 7 today. And then it went as high as 5. I don't know if it went higher than that, but it looks like that played a part in it, I would say, along with short covering or whatever. Wall Street bets and some retail money that doesn't usually get into the sector, I think probably played a hand in this.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be curious to do an analysis right now on where these companies, all these stocks sit at actual fair value compared to like a decent multiple with the revenue on revenue, not on EBITDA, and see where MSOS should be. I'd have to assume if all of these stocks are at fair value right now with where the revenue is, you're probably talking about a 2 handle on MSOS.
Ryan Miller writes, it's going to be a meme. In sync voice.
Well, it's interesting you mentioned that because MOS is actually trading at like a premium, like almost a double premium to the component stocks because it's on the NYSE. You can trade it. It's got that exposure to the tier 1 exchange. But assuming that premium kept in place, yeah, I mean 2 handle 25. Who knows? 30.
So no, throw that back up, Shai, because this is these comments because I keep seeing them. Every MSOS sells cardboard terpenes, which that's a huge objection. No, seriously, I see it all the time on Twitter, and I mean I think this is a valid point. So a lot of people drink alcohol. We all drink alcohol. You know who sells a hell of a lot of beer? Pabst Blue Ribbon, Bud Light. Well, not anymore, Bud Light, but Budweiser, shit beer sells the most.
Yeah.
So there needs to be brands in the cannabis space that's selling that because everyone can't be smoking gas. Everyone can't be smoking 710 Percy flower or homegrown like runts. Like it's not possible. But they sell a lot of discount, decent cannabis, and that's what people buy. People are price sensitive. Like you're not going to get the person that goes and buys the $60 eighth, the $50 eighth.
Yeah.
You know what a lot of people are going to look for? A $22 eighth.
Yeah.
That is what people are going to want. And I mean, I've got no problem investing in companies that are going to sell that kind of product because they make products for everybody. That's just a function of the market.
Because it's cheaper, right?
Yeah. I mean, there's a shitload of dispensaries in Florida that I personally won't smoke would not smoke the flower.
Right.
I'm invested in those companies though, because they sell a hell of a lot of it at a decent margin and it's just going to grow.
It's a good point.
I don't know why they disparage that. You're right. I mean, look at a brand like Old Pal where they sell like the shake and like the bottom of the canopy or whatever. That was like one of the top selling brands in California.
I know
for forever. And even though it only sold for like what, $15 a quarter or something like that. It was super cheap. Super cheap, and yet it was popular because that's the price point. Most consumers are at that, bottom level price point. There's nothing wrong with that.
No,
right? That there's all tiers.
If you stood in line at the liquor store and watched people buy alcohol, there's a lot more people buying bottles of Evan Williams and Jack Daniels than Johnny Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I mean, as a cannabis consumer, I mean, I like to buy the good stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I like to talk up companies and I like to be affiliated with companies that grow the good stuff and that put the good stuff out there. But the mids and stuff that's not gas and stuff that is priced to sell, it sells. People buy it. People smoke it. Yeah. Like people are there. Like I paid $2.20 for a half ounce last week of like 710 Percy flower. Like people would probably call me stupid for paying that much for a legal half ounce, but it was very high quality stuff. And I mean, that's just, I mean, I hear a knock all the time that they grow mids, they grow shit weed. They sell a lot of it. Correct. The mids needs to be priced accordingly. Yeah, that is correct. And I mean, I don't want to throw shade at someone, but this is just the first thing that came to mind. Sunnyside, that's owned by Cresco in Florida. If you go on their website right now, most of their eighths are $22.99.
Mm-hmm.
And the wheat and the flour looks like something you would pay $22.99 for an eighth for.
Right.
Well, if you're invested in an MSO, they better have a very high selling quality, lower grade flour because that's what's going to produce the highest unit sales in their company. So if they're just concentrating on high grade or whatever, that's great. And some companies can make a living off that. But if you're a major player, exchange traded player, you're going to have categories for everybody. So if you don't have a good category for the lower end, well,
the only product that I stay away from like the plague when it comes to actually buying product is pre-rolls. As far as I'm concerned, like no company that I've experienced for the most part has got them right. They're not a very good experience. They usually don't taste very good. And I mean, you can tell that the companies are putting the less than ideal flower into the pre-rolls. But I mean, yeah, I usually buy concentrates or I buy flower if I'm going to consume.
Bringing this back to like what we're talking about off the top, like you guys feel pretty optimistic still heading into tomorrow. That's what I'm gathering.
Yeah, we'll have a different conversation maybe at 9:35, but I'm pretty confident going into tomorrow morning.
Yeah, I'm optimistic. I mean, from a technical perspective, above 725, like I said, short covering all day, closing near the high, volume actually picked up in the afternoon as opposed to the morning, which is exactly what you want to see on something that's short covering. You know, still 10.5 million shares short prior to as of the last reporting period. What's there not to like, right? With the catalyst table.
Yeah.
Does that mean that I'm going to go out and buy an 875 gap on MSOs? Not necessarily. But I mean, that's my own perspective. I mean, it could easily go to shoot up to 950 or 10 in the next couple of days. I don't know. You have to use your own risk tolerance, but absolutely things look good right now.
Question.
Yeah, I mean,
see that about Kevin McCarthy? Marcus Smith writes.
He doesn't have to. He doesn't have to for it to get passed. I don't think he will. Just knowing his stance on a lot of things and where he stands, he's definitely like hyper conservative. I'd love for him to get behind it, but I wouldn't hold my breath.
Yeah.
A lot of volume today surprised me, writes Vibe King.
Everything surprised me.
Yeah.
Everything surprised me today. The price action, the volume. I mean, I did not expect this to happen. And I really did sit here watching my screen past 12 o'clock saying, when's it going to roll over? When's it going to roll over? And then they just lagged higher.
Yeah. Which I did too, just because the volume was lighter too, like I said. So I'm like, okay, they're going to try to push it up, try to maybe get people in, squeeze a little bit, and then it's going to roll over because it doesn't have the volume, and it kept going. And somebody kept underpinning, you know, hitting the bid or whatever, kept supporting it, edging it higher, and then all of a sudden, I think shorts realized that they're in trouble, and then it just, you know, everybody just started covering.
I'm curious. I am curious to see though, and I'm sure Jungle and Java will put it out after she gets the data from advisor shares, but what they've added to the ETF.
Okay.
I'm going to be curious to see what they buy. I'm assuming they have to start buying AYR at some point.
Something to bring up as well, just for all of our viewers, we're actually having Kim Rivers on Thursday. So that'll be an interesting conversation. We'll talk about HHS, briefly touch on their earnings from last month, but more importantly, just an update on why she thinks or doesn't think REC will pass in Florida. But interesting stuff to say the least. But this is, you know, won't lie. Historically, for cannabis investors, when the summer ends, we want fall to begin because historically that's when the cannabis industry does perform well, but it takes a couple weeks, like probably even sometimes going into the first week of October. But this is the first day post Labor Day, and we are roaring.
I'm curious to see. Go ahead, Ben.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm curious to see what the actual price action is once the ballot, if and when it passes for REC in Florida.
Yeah.
Because I think you're going to see moves like this. Like you're going to have Verano, Trulieve, AYR, like they're going to become immensely more profitable and have their revenue numbers grow immensely overnight. Just if and when that happens.
This is why this industry is just, even like during the hard times, still had a lot of interest, as much as we cover other verticals, but a lot of interest pertaining to this. And the last 4 or 5 days is a prime example why.
It's an illegal drug. Where it shouldn't be illegal.
Well,
but we're investing in an illegal drug.
It's what happened in Canada 6-7 years ago, and how much, you know, everything just people, for those that made a lot of money, they made a lot of money, and for those that lost a lot of money, they were up a lot of money. And it's the chase, obviously, that people are just fixated on, and they want to live that again. Why wouldn't you?
Know what, Chad?
I bought
Chad, I can tell you that it seems like August is gaining a reputation for being a kick-ass time to invest in the sector.
You're right.
Rescheduling ruling at the end of August, obviously last week, and then we had the Canopy Growth announcement with Constellation. If you recall, what was it, 6 years ago now? That was in August too, during a raving bear market. We've talked about this on previous Traded Black podcasts. So twice the sector has been galvanized on both sides of the border in August. So, you know, it's maybe August is time to invest, right? When things look at its worst.
Betting against
Yeah.
prohibition is a lottery ticket. Nice job, Usifer. Doubled your money. Nice job, brother. Don't listen to us, though. We're just big fans like you. It's just great videos.
Purely informational.
But Kim Rivers is going to be on. There's some notable names that we should reach out. Leave some comments for all of our viewers out there. If there's anybody, we're obviously speaking to. Don't worry.
I want to get Brady. I want to get Brady back on.
Brady Cobb.
I mean, he's a great person to talk to, especially about the Florida market.
Yeah.
With Sunburn, with what he's going on, with what he's got going on with Sunburn. I mean, Sunburn's a formidable player in the Florida market too. They just happen to be private.
Yeah.
Do you plan on going public anytime soon, or?
I would have to guess that. I would have to guess that he doesn't want to do that again. He already had his public market exit. Did well with one plant. I mean, grow Sunburn into either a cash cow or grow it and sell it over to an MSO.
Well,
I highly doubt he'd take it public.
From what I'm seeing, just the way he's branding this and the history with his father, and then I even saw some Instagram posts. We're talking about Brady Cobb that owns Sunburn Cannabis, former of AYR Wellness, but Jimmy Buffett passed away, and a lot of his branding is around that lifestyle. And at the end of the day, if you've had one successful exit, who knows how much money he made off of that? You can actually do something that you absolutely love, and it kind of reminds you of the upbringing that you brought up. How much is enough? And quite honestly, I think that's the reason why it's doing so successful, is because he's not probably thinking about money. He's thinking about branding first, which is what this industry has badly needed from day one, but didn't really happen.
Smart. He's got a brand. There's no real, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's no real East Coast cannabis brands. Really? I mean, the Flowery, that's in Florida. I mean, I know the founders over there, and they wanted to build a East Coast cannabis brand.
Yeah.
The first thing they did was bring in 710 Labs, which I'm not complaining. As far as I'm concerned, 710 Labs is one of the best brands in the country when it comes to quality of like rosins and flower and their genetics. Like, they're superior to a lot of people. But they basically said, all right, we're not going to build the Florida brand. Let's bring in Backpack Boys and 710 Labs, etc. Brady with Sunburn, you walk into his dispensaries, they've got that MedMen retail experience, which as far as I'm concerned, is one of the best in the business. When you've got those tables with the iPads, you can see everything. And then it's a Florida ethos. It's a Florida brand that he's building with Sunburn. I think he's going to stay true to that. And the product's good. The flower's good. Concentrates are good. There's always people in the stores when I'm there. It's a good thing that he's building. Yeah,
Lucifer, the Canadian government indeed just killed branding when it came to cannabis, like virtually impossible. But for anyone that's, we'd love to actually meet some of our viewers and subscribers in person. We will be in Chicago on Wednesday, September the 27th and Thursday, September the 28th. So if you're in Chicago, I think it's a great conference because the one in Miami is bigger, but I'm thinking this one in Chicago actually could be bigger than the one in Miami in April because of the sentiment that's building within this industry and what lies ahead between now and who knows, like whether it's Christmas Q1, but there's a lot of positive momentum building within the industry, which wasn't the case 5-6 months ago. But I think that's pretty much a wrap for now. Okay, let's see how things go. Let us know if you like this live version as well. I think we should do more of these, but we appreciate the feedback. Lucifer, again, thanks for the comments, along with who else was it? Vibe King?
Yep. But
this is good. Ben, I know things are good in the space when you're actually pretty optimistic about, hey, we could see a short squeeze. Like that's an eye opener, but you're right.
Yeah, my only regret is I do have exposure. I wish I would have got obviously a little bit more. I tend to be a little bit cautious. Buddy. I was hoping for that bigger pullback. It didn't quite come. I'm with Anthony. It kind of surprised me a little bit off the open, and here we are. So I'm just happy for everybody who's sort of held in and have taken all their lumps and average down or whatever. Hopefully you're recuperating. Hopefully you're in the green, and hopefully there's more to come.
Quick question for Anthony. Have you tried all the different brands in Florida? And if so, can you comment on who's had the better product?
So I've tried many of them. I haven't tried all of them. As far as flower and concentrates, 710 from the Flowery is the best. Second, I would put Alien Labs flower that's grown out of True Leaf. That's good, solid flower. Move, Verano, good flower. Sunburn, great flower, great concentrates. And I don't think I've tried any of the other spots. I tried Sunnyside, but I hated it, which is Cresco. I wouldn't go back there. But those brands they're the ones that I usually go to.
How many dispensaries do we know that are in the state of Florida? Any idea?
I mean, just off the top of my head, there's probably 350 between Truly, Verano, and Cresco alone.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And yes, the Crypto Chronic from Alien Labs is good, but their apple fritter is actually my favorite strain that they have at Trulieve, which is pretty good.
I'd be curious to know how many dispensaries are now in the province of Ontario. Lucifer, you've commented a little bit about, Ontario and how they've kind of botched the opportunity, or I should say Canada. But one thing's for sure, when they legalized cannabis, the Liberals were part of the provincial government, which then turned a conservative with Doug Ford, and they just opened up the floodgates and dispensaries, and there is a ton everywhere.
Also, hold on a second. Lucifer, I'm putting a link in the chat that those are the actual Florida numbers on a weekly basis. So if you're interested in the Florida operators, they update that on a weekly basis of the milligrams of THC as well as the grams of flower that each dispensary is selling in real time in Florida.
All right. Well, this has been good. Okay. We got positive momentum going into the close, and we're feeling optimistic for tomorrow because we still feel like there's a lot of shorts out there that don't want to be short in this industry, and they need to cover. So interesting to see. Welcome back, gents. Summer is over, and we are ready to roll.
You couldn't ask for a better first day back. You really
better
couldn't.
First day.
We could get a better second day too with the gap. We'll see. I'll be looking for that first thing when I wake up tomorrow.
And how about a fucking third day, Benny boy?
I'll let you know at 9:35 tomorrow morning what it looks like.
All right. Leave a comment below. Let us know some of the feedback that you think and how this week's going to progress. Do we have staying power? Pretty much confirming today that there could be. So appreciate all the feedback, and let's see where this goes. Appreciate you logging on.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks,
all right. Thanks.